You get started in the music business rather young, I think, for for most people.
Started recording around when I was 18 or 19. Well, when I was 18, and it was released when I was 19.
How did that come about, anyway?
Well, actually, I started playing banjo in pizza parlors, Dixieland type stuff. That's how I learned music, how to read and stuff. Then I switched to the guitar, which quickly bored me, and I went to the 12-string.
So,
because of Lead Belly.
Because he was an influence for you, a good influence?
And also because nobody else played the 12-string, except Pete Seeger, and he didn't write anything. So I decided that's what I was going to play.
What really made you decide to get into music as a profession in the first place?
Not wanting to do what my father did, which was working in a steel mill.
I suppose that's why a lot of people get
into
World War II,
something different. Which I heard enough about.
Well, you got, I was reading your biography a short while ago, and it says you started off with country bands. And
this is true, right.
You were 15 at the time.
Yeah.
That's rather early to be playing regularly for most people anyway.
They're real good people, they don't care how old you are unless just so you can play, So
you have any trouble with the bars or anything like that?
No, that's what I mean. They cover you,
Do you have any fond memories from that era, say between 15 and 18, before you switched to the folk music? I
was just learning how to play, and so what I was able to play, I played, and the better I got with the guitar, I hadn't written anything until I was around 16, 17, and when I started writing, then I started finding where I was at,
And again,
what I wanted to say.
That's still kind of young too for the majority of people. You got off to a really early start in the whole business.
I was really a pretentious brat. And I had to get out of the house, and had to make a living somehow. The first album, Tim Buckley, was songs, and they weren't folk songs. They were just songs that I had written, right? And the second album, Goodbye and Hello, were also songs. Some slow, some fast.
So you would prefer it then, I gather, that there's no classification put down for it.
Folk it's a nice label, it's fine, but I don't think it really falls into that.
At that point, you did 4 albums for Elektra,
right.
And then you again decided to make another change in your style. And did you get a lot of reaction? Good reaction, bad reaction, whatever.
Yes, with greetings. Yeah, with greetings from LA, I got terrific reaction, and now I would look at the Fool, picking up again. Real good stuff.
I know I've had a number of people call and say one way or the other, I like the new Tim Buckley or I like the old Tim Buckley. They're referring to your style on Look at the Fool and Greetings from LA and Sophronia
as new,
right. And the other material as old.
Yes, which it is.
Yeah, it is, exactly.
But one must grow.
Okay.
And one must communicate to what the people need.
And you felt it was time that the people needed to change, the people who were following you needed to change as well.
I don't dictate to the people who particularly follow me. I write for people. Period.
Just anybody.
Well,
anybody who likes.
I write a song, and it's. I don't gear it to a certain kind of person. I couldn't think that way. That's like writing a political speech.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a poetic human statement, musical, and hopefully communicable.
You say you like to shock the audience? It's in your...
Sometimes I just seem to. With the sexual lyrics or the Swahili type of talking in tongues, which is a pretty American thing, really, but not many people know about it, which is, the Howling Baptist type religion type thing, they talk in tongues. To describe that pretty much like epileptic stammerings. When, words don't suffice anymore, they talk in tongues.
Okay.
You dig? And, no, I don't like to shock an audience. I want to get their attention, and I want them to know I'm there.
Sometimes
and I'm the best at what I do. And if that shocks them, fine if they stay. If it shocks them and they leave, then 9 out of 10 times, if they've been shocked and the people leave, they got to deal with it sooner or later.
That's true.
So, and I'll be around to pick up the pieces.
I believe that. I think you'll probably feel that any changes, are normally for the better. Is that correct? Like changes in your style, in your music, whatever?
Not changes for the sake of change. I mean, evolving, growing, learning, gaining more knowledge, staying open. Not, like you said, writing for a certain audience tends to give you a tunnel vision on writing music,
A lot of bands do fall into that.
Well, it's because that's all they can write. There aren't many great writers.
That's true. Do you have any writers, while we're on that subject, that you find do have some impact on what you think and write?
George Gershwin, Billy Strayhorn, some of the things that Bob Dylan has said.
How about current
Curtis Mayfield, Stevie, of course. In and Out, stuff like that. I don't like Burt Bacharach or all that type of stuff. Is that all right to say?
Sure.
I'm sure I'm offending a lot of people. I like Walk On By, right? But, I mean, his general attitude of music, I don't
You've been into
get real turned on by,
Still thinking of the change and so on.
However, Isaac Hayes did a great thing on Walk On By, and by the time you get to Phoenix, that was terrific.
Rather lengthy, though.
Oh, did that bother you? I thought that was quite great.
It bothered me from a programming standpoint, I guess.
We'll see. You're just a snotty brat.
Yeah, it's true.
But some people listen to them in their homes. They buy records and they take them home and they say,
really?
Yeah, you know that.
I can't believe it.
You can't. Well, it's true.
How did you...
Segue.
Yes, you got to keep on going here. I'll get myself into trouble. On your new album, or I'll say most recent, just in case.
Well, it's new because it's the most recent.
Yeah, but later on, this will not be the most recent one, I'm sure. How did you enjoy putting this one together compared to the other ones?
I dug it a lot. I dug writing it a lot because of the producer, who was a guitar player for me, with me, and knew my voice and knew. Had played with me for like about 2 years straight on the road and knew exactly what I was doing. Wasn't going to change me, was going to get the best out of what we had been doing live. You dig? Most producers come in with a attitude, a conception of what you should be, or like you just said, to reach a certain audience, which usually drives you up a wall. Because, you are what you are, and the only thing you can do is the best that you are. Or else it's a lie, But a lot of people are great at writing those type of songs that don't mean anything and sell a lot.
That's true.
And they have a terrific talent for that. And that's terrific. That's an art form, just like...
just like what you do as an art
just
form.
like cheap cars, like Ford makes and stuff like that. Bad cars. That's an art, or any kind of car. So this in itself is quite an art form.
Yes, in that
discovering new ways for the car to die within 2.5 years. There's a lot of inadequacy.
I guess that applies to music as well. I never really thought of it like that. What did I ask you? Oh yeah, but acting.
Acting, yeah. Well, I did a great one, Jerry and the Zeus Story. I don't know if you're
No.
familiar with that, Edward Albee. That was a demanding part. It was a play, however, and it was done at UCLA. And also was in Sandbox by Albee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would love to do a Eugene O'Neill film, play.
How did you get interested in this? It is a creative
Well,
art
it's
form close to music, I feel.
Yeah, it's theater.
Mm-hmm. So it just seemed to be a natural thing for you to do.
Well, I have a theory and also a belief, a deep feeling for a certain thing. If you happen to walk on stage, you should know something about who has been on stage before you,
mm-hmm.
which means Shakespeare. I mean, not all the plays, but at least be familiar with the fact that he did exist, right?
Right.
If you happen to open up your mouth and utter words, you should know something about literature, or at least vaudeville, right? How to entertain or convey a message, you dig? And if you happen to, like, sing a song or something like that, you should know something about music, something like that. And if you're, so, now when you got all that covered, you're talking to an audience and you're playing songs, all of a sudden you find yourself holding a guitar and just standing there. Now there's not much you can do with a guitar in front of a microphone, because there's only a few ways you can play it. Bo Diddley does it one way, Jimi Hendrix did it with his teeth, and so you can't, and so those are styles that you can't copy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better to stick to the standard form of strapping it around your shoulder and just playing it and hoping for the best. So theater is is important in, like, how to present something that you're doing. A message in a song, if there is one. A series of messages in your set or something like that. How you act towards the audience, how you handle or react to people, or how you make them feel at ease when you want them to feel at ease, or when you want to make a point that's pretty stern. If a certain song is fighting apathy, let's say, that's all acting.
Yeah, that's true.
So there were things that I did have to learn from acting. And, however, I didn't learn them from doing movies, because that's a medium that is just, it depends so much on the director and the cameraman. There are about 15 middlemen before, you're just waiting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time it's you're sort of really real secondary. An actor is real secondary to the whole crew.
No, he's like the final product anyway.
He's the final product. He's the thing that people see. But in reality of doing a film, he's really second. He's nothing.
For the short while you were into it, I guess. I don't know if you still are or not, really.
Well, obviously because of my views, and they have been heard.
Well, you won't be in for very long.
I don't get many calls.
But would you be interested if somebody did call?
Oh, well, I get calls to do the stoned musician. You see?
The stoned musician?
Right,
Typecasting.
Right. Oh, you suckered me in.
No, you can hit me this time.
I can hit you. No, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
somebody like Paul Mazursky wanted me to do Bloomin' Love, which I thought was a terrible script when I read it, and he wanted me to be a musician. And I had about 5 or 6 scripts that were handed to me to be a musician, right? And act like a musician, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Act like a musician, they'd say. And
so you just walk in.
what do you do, Say, act like a radio guy.
Yeah, or act like yourself.
Yeah.
How do you act like yourself?
Well, I turn on the TV and read and yell at the kid.
Typical existence, really.
Right.
I think that's one of the fallacies.
So I turn all of those down, basically, doing the musician bit.
That's one of the fallacies, though, is when you actually come on being yourself. People look at Tim Buckley and they say, a rock star or a singer or whatever, and they expect you to be, almost godlike.
I believe in spiritual things. I believe in magic, because I'm involved in music, and I know that when something doesn't happen, it's because the magic isn't there, right?
Right.
These are hard things to talk about. Like, I don't, like the Maharishi type stuff, or right now the new fad, the Jesus freaks, designed to get kids off of dope and things like that. Now that's a good premise, but a bit sickening when they are at you in the street all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that's just removing one crutch and giving you another one.
Right. Well, but it's better than drugs.
Yeah, physically.
Right.
And probably mentally too, for that matter.
Right. Yeah, Jesus is a good cat. Didn't ask.
What do you relate to? Hold on a second. What do you relate to? Who do you look up to in the acting profession?
I tell you that I love movies, and I love movies by people like Orson Welles and some of John Huston things. Hate westerns, except for High Noon.
Mm-hmm.
I love Clint Eastwood movies. Obviously there are a few ironies. I have to have my daily share of my little pill of irony. I need my irony pill. I have to have it. I have to know that when Nixon resigns, he gets $200,000 a year to pay his maids.
Mm-hmm.
I need that.
Why do you need that so much?
Because it exists, and if the day goes by where there's no irony, I feel like there's somebody wasn't on the job. Oh, anyway, what I wanted to explain about movies was the fact that Orson Welles is a great writer and a great filmmaker. So is John Huston, obviously. And but Orson and people like Mailer and Truman Capote have an uncanny understanding of America, which is pretty staggering when you stop to think about it. Now, there are a lot of people who know territories of America. This is why I like films. When I see a statement being made by a film, and it's like you said before, being geared to a certain audience, I sit and I watch it because it's on a big screen and I'm a pretty simple-minded guy. But I walk out saying, that was a dumb movie, But when Orson did a thing, well, of course, everybody knows Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm.
But I relate basically to a movie that he did, Touch of Evil and Ladies from Shanghai, as knowing quite a bit about America. Characterizations. Much like Thomas Wolfe, the novelist, knew America stone cold. Just knew it. Because it is one for the connoisseurs, because it has been a melting pot for we're going on 200 years, which to a lot of countries is like a shot in the bucket. Israel, we're talking 2,000 years. But they've only dealt with Israel people. Or England has only dealt with basically English people. We've been melting and everybody from the world into America. And on one block, you'll have a Polish, Puerto Rican, Irish Jew, right, heritage, who is now a Protestant, living next to a black guy, living next to, let's say, a Mexican family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm relating this to where I live, in Venice, California, the Bowery by the Sea.
The Bowery by the Sea?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
No, I call it that. And it's amazing how they can get along because of all, there's a lot of temper. There's a lot of, those people shouldn't be getting along because they're not the same ilk. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like seeing that.
When they do get along. Or,
yes, and when they don't get along, I can obviously understand it because they just don't like seeing people walking around in in another image other than themselves.
Right.
This is like a pretty big basis why people don't adopt kids. You know, because they're not theirs. They're not in their image.
Right.
I, however, have adopted an 11-year-old boy.
When did you do this?
So I'm a great guy.
I'm a hero. When did you adopt the boy? Just for interest's sake, that may be cut out of the
Oh,
tape.
man, I went through a lot of stuff to get this kid, right? With my girlfriend. All right.
You being a single parent, or a single...
No, we live
non-parent.
together.
Yeah, but you would still be classified as single, wouldn't you, in that instance?
Well, we lied, and we showed him something, you know. Well, but the thing is that I went through so much, they checked me out for like a year. How much I made, which is pretty sporadic. You know, sometimes...
Hopefully not for much longer.
Sometimes it comes in real good, but most of the time it's, you know, it's really spread out, you know, and like to say what I make a year is totally impossible. So you lie. You know, I have to lie about everything because one year it might be $80,000 that I make, but I've paid musicians, airplanes, hotels, $75,000.
Right.
You know, and rent and all that stuff, and I've cleared $5,000 where I can go get a pair of shoes. You know, I would get a few binges on, you know, stuff like that. So finally, I get the kid. They say, okay, come to court. We go to court, Taylor and myself. He's 11 now. And we go see the judge. He says, sign here, and we split. That's it. And both Taylor and I looked at each other and said,
Unbelievable.
what was all that all about? We waited a whole year. You know, they come to the house. They see if he's got a bed. You know, that type of stuff.
I guess they have to be pretty careful, in most instances.
Yeah, but I would think that at the final decree that the judge would say something to you, like, if you don't take care of this kid, you'll go in the army.
Now you wanna know. And see what we have.
I recorded Lorca, Starkiller, and Blue Afternoon in the same month. To say the least, I was hot.
And tired, probably.
No, it was really, was all there. None of them sold a bit. Not a thing, because I was in a record chain. This is when Mr. Holtzman sold his company, Elektra. And I was on my way to Warner Brothers, and these were like regarded as contract,
just
fulfilling contracts. So that obviously Lorca was the one that Elektra picked, and they gave me such a great cover here, black and white. Used an old picture, real flattering, and promoted it so well that it hit the supermarket within 3 days.
Oh, wonderful. Did you have much
and
trouble
on
with
it,
Elektra?
No. Only when, you know, the contract was up and Mr. Holtzman sold it. I loved him dearly. It was really a tremendous thing to work for him because he gave a tremendous amount of freedom.
Oh, that's good.
And he only signed people that could do their own work.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And that were responsible and could go in the studio and come out with something that he could be proud of. That was tremendous.
Elektra, they were a really strong label for a couple of years back when.
Right.
I can't remember exactly.
The
when,
60s.
Yeah.
And then it was, I guess, to his disadvantage, really, not to sell it. You know,
it's the old offer you can't refuse trick, probably.
There you go. And I guess he was tired. He wanted to get into something else. He was bored also. Where do old record company presidents go?
I never really thought about that.
Well, he became a videotape kind of guy. He's in the video right now.
Well, let's talk about this Lorca album then.
Okay.
Okay, what do we talk about on the Lorca album?
Well,
what did you like,
I liked the first side tremendously. That's very innovative. I really started writing. I finished my apprenticeship of songwriting, basically, when I hit this one. And also on Starkiller. I listened to Starkiller the other day, and there are some contributions to songwriting. That was Starkiller.
Starkiller, right.
Okay. Then we did Greetings from L.A. We did Greetings from L.A., and it was a sense of freedom, you know. We recorded it live in a big sound stage with a truck backed in, and I sang all the vocals live. It was terrific, and we did it in a couple nights, and I hadn't played in a long time. I mean, I hadn't been in the studio for a long time.
Was there a major break for you between Starkiller and...
Well, I took a year and a half off to become a human being, because I was on the road before that for like about 6 years. And if you're on the road for 6 years straight, you start doing strange things to stewardesses, tormenting dogs with forks, things like that.
Do you foresee any changes in that kind of a system?
Unfortunately, there's no other way of doing it. You try to set up a tour as logically as possible, but a tour, well, you'll play one night in Vancouver, the next night in Houston.
Yeah.
Right. Then Nome, Alaska, next night in Paris, then in Detroit.
So you've lost several hours along the way, too.
Right. I mean, that's how it goes, you know. If you could go through, like, state by state, you know, that's great. And a lot of people, like Tony Bennett, can do that, where he's, like, in one place for a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's going to be coming for, put this in quotation marks, rock stars as well.
Right. It's a whole other bag. It's a whole other business. Business, I hate the word. It's for rock stars, maybe it is a business. For me, it's music.
That's probably the right attitude to take. Otherwise,
well,
you would go.
It's a compulsion. Strange. Music is a compulsion, and business is really.
It's a compulsion too, but in another direction.
It's for somebody else, not me. I know what's going on. I know what I pay my people. I know what the standards of living are and what they should be getting paid for their talents and stuff like that. And then I know how much I have to make at a gig, let's say, and how much an airplane is going to cost, and how much hotels are going to cost, how much renting stuff is going to cost, like trucks and cars. And then when everything goes wrong, renting another sound system, you know, at the last minute. I know, you know, the logistics of doing a tour. I'm not saying that I don't know anything about business, but I don't regard playing for people as a business.
Well, the whole aspect of the touring would be, I hope, considered by you as part of the music.
It is. I love. You cannot write a song or know what to write without playing in front of people.
And so all of that sort of leads up to playing in front of people, which has to be done.
Definitely.
What about the people you've worked with in the past couple of years? Like, do you keep the same backing group with you all the time, or?
No, I've changed about maybe 3 or 4 times. I'm real happy with the new people on Look at the Fool. I'd like to talk about them.
All right.
If we can.
I'm sure we'll get into some of the tunes here.
Well, I think there are some good ones, as also on Greetings from L.A. I'm pretty proud of a few tracks, just from a writer's standpoint. I'm real proud of. But Joe Falsey is a tremendous... we were talking about him earlier, guitar player, worked with me for a long time, and I persuaded my record company to let him produce the record, obviously because he knew my music better and he was going to get the most out of what we did on stage, which people applauded for. But there really ain't that much to doing a record. I mean, it's just time. Mm-hmm. Everything takes time.
It's also expensive, I've heard.
But, yes.
Rather.
Right. And it's hard to find a good place. Wally Heider is a great studio. The record plant is a great studio, but it's way too expensive because they have a sauna bath and a massage thing and a whole thing, which really doesn't work to anybody's advantage except the chicks who come to watch the guys play. If you went into a sauna bath while you're doing a session, you'd probably fall asleep. I work with an engineer who was on this album, Stan Eagle, who was putting together Woodstock, and he was putting it together. And he one day he was working at the record plant, went into the sauna to try to relax after 17 hours straight, and he fell asleep for 24.
In the sauna?
In the sauna. And he came out and his complete frontal sinus thing was completely dried out, you know, because sauna is terrible. for that.
Probably looked like he aged about 10 years as well.
Yeah.
Wrinkles galore.
But he's a terrific engineer, and he knows what to do with my voice, which is 5.5 octaves, which is a little tough to record, because you have the thing here with the needles, right, into the red?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they go into the red a lot. And that distorts. And his job is to follow what I'm doing, because I can't do the same thing twice, because I'm constantly interpreting what I'm doing.
On the new album here.
So Joe Falsey played guitars. I played 12-string. I wrote the songs, along with Beckett. The piano player is a tremendous player, Mike Melvoin. Earl Palmer, a 52-year-old drummer, who we found at the last minute to fill the date up. And the first date, which we did, was 5 songs, in a session. And I ended up writing for him for the next 5 tunes for the next session, because he was just tremendous. I really loved him a lot.
Where did you find him? How did you get in touch with him?
Well, he was in L.A., and that's where he lives. And
Have you met
Joey
him
knew him, see. Joey had played with him at some, discotheque someplace along the line, That's how you find musicians.
I noticed in the Greetings from L.A. and the Sophronia album, especially, that a lot of the tunes that are programmed most often are sexually oriented.
Well, I like sex.
Who doesn't?
Right.
It's just unusual, I find, for musicians to try to relate something sexually instead of...
well, you know what I figured when I did... I had listened to all what was supposedly rock sex stars, like Jim Morrison, who was a fairly good friend of mine, and Mick Jagger, who I don't know at all. Were primarily sexual. You went to see them because they were very sexy, right? But I realized in listening to the music that they never said anything about sex.
Right, it's all in presentation.
Right, so I figured, and also, when I go to pornography films, I never learn anything new.
There are only so many variations on
this. This is true, and so I figured mentioning things like stretch marks and get on top of me, woman, doing that Cobra waltz, Glittoris samba, things like that, I kind of liked, and they were great words.
Tim, thank you very much for
coming in. We're wrapping it up, folks.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
It's been a pleasure. You've let me talk about things that don't normally get asked.
I'm very pleased to have met you.
I know we stuttered a lot, but I think we ought to leave it in. Because it's hard to do. I think it's hard to do a good interview.
We'll see what Terry does.
If it's smooth, I think it eats.
Again, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it.
I wish you well in your future ventures, for sure.
Well, I'll be doing it. Thank you.